You look like you're a drummer for some zombie band that plays only in Europe.
I would love that job. That sounds perfect. I
You
hadn't
look great.
really.
My
Right
name,
now, I'm just the drummer for my kids' band.
I'm
But
Paul. I'll be auditioning for Rammstein.
Rammstein.
Yeah, a heavy metal poetry podcast. I finally
Ooh.
found it. You are listening to Two Friends, Two Poems, the podcast where friends read poems to each other just to see what happens. My name's Tom, and this was my idea. Today it's a special Three Friends episode, as Tom and Paul are joined by their buddy Mark Smith, who is the founder and artistic director of the Legacy Theater in Atlanta, Georgia, where he has produced a stunning new musical called Pelagius with the music of Michael and Lisa Gunner. So stand by for poems by Gerard Manley Hopkins, W.S. Merwin, and Kahil Gibran. All right, here we go.
My alarm to wake me up was set at the time of this starting.
I'm sorry. I'm not a respecter of time zones.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'm not either. They're ridiculous. The Earth's flat. There's no time zones.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, I want to just real quick. I was listening to a previous episode and I'm having trouble with the word poem. And
Poem.
yeah, could we just take a moment and take turns saying it? I need
Sure.
help. Okay. Cuz my issue is like you got poem or you
Poem.
got poem. And I have problems with commitment, so I try to shoot it right in the middle, and
All right,
and I'm self-conscious about it.
let's do it.
Is there a
Let's do it.
preference? Okay, go ahead.
Well, I just want to say it. So, like, let me put it in a sentence.
Okay.
I love to read the poem about nature. How'd that sound?
It sounded like a goddamn poem is how it sounded.
Like a haiku.
I heard oi. I heard poem. Okay, Paul, your turn.
Yeah, I also love to read the poem. I think
You
it
say-
depends on where you're from. Like
I
I
think
could
yeah, of
imagine
course.
in
Is
Abilene,
But isn't that like a pomegranate drink?
poem.
No,
Poem.
that's palm.
Oh,
Like
Yeah,
I'm
you
thinking
said-
about when we were at ACU, like we'd go through in the in their world famous cafeteria, the Bean,
mm.
and and
the bean.
the woman working there would say, "Hi, can I read you a poem?"
Hi, can I read you a poem? So you've got poem. Mark said poem. Let's see. Mark likes to read that, and Paul likes to read that, and I also like to read poems. Yeah, I think poem.
You kind of had a mix between the two. It's like
That's what I'm saying. You can feel my insecurity.
I think that's a poem in itself. That's a poem in the poem.
This is gonna be yeah. So the poem within the poem. So Mark, why don't you kick us off? You want to tell us about a poem you brought and then give it a read?
Yeah, it's a poem about nature. Okay, got my morning throat here. Let's see what we got. This is God's Grandeur by Gerard Manley Hopkins. The world is charged with the grandeur of God. It will flame out like shining from shook foil. It gathers to a greatness like the ooze of oil, crushed. Why do men then now not wreck his rod? Generations have trod, have trod, and all is seared, excuse me, all is seared with trade, bleared, smeared with toil, and wears man's smudge and shares man's smell. The soil is bare now, nor can foot feel being shod. And for all this, nature is never spent. There lives the dearest freshness deep down things. And though the last lights off the black west went, oh, morning, at the brown brink eastward springs, because the Holy Ghost over the bent world broods with warm breast and with bright wings. There you go. Gerard Manley Hopkins. Do you want me to tell you why I like this poem?
Yeah, please. Why
Yeah.
why is it meaningful to you?
Well, I do tend to lean more towards poems about nature, because usually I find myself in nature or communing with nature when I have the mood to sit with a poem. And I think that I'm more drawn to like the Wordsworth and the Coleridge and some of those more romantic kind of authors. Excuse me.
Well, I was wondering too, Mark, with your work as a writer, and when you're writing the show and putting together the musical Pelagius, a lot of that sounded like Pelagius to me. Or is that part of why that plays into it too, or were you was that poem informing you while you were working on that?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. This was informing me. There's that Celtic strain, I think, and one of my favorite authors is John Philip Newell. And that Celtic strain has been with us since the Celtic strain of Christianity has kind of been with us since the third century. And so it's moved in through some of these especially English. He was from Wales, which is, they said, where Pelagius was from. Hopkins was from Wales. So I think that Celtic strain has infused these authors. You're talking about Hopkins, you're talking about some of John Donne's work. I think that it infuses it, and I think that yes, it's definitely an influence, but it also has always spoken truth to me. I remember being in college and reading Wordsworth and talking about the idea that we have come from glory and forgotten what it was to be in glory, and our whole life is dedicated to remembering what that was like. And I think that speaks more to like my journey of this idea that we are of God and that we are blessed from birth, and that we're just trying to recapture what we may have forgotten from the beginning. So I think that's where it infuses that kind of thought.
Can I go?
Sure.
All right. So much like the previous episode, I chose this poet from a recommendation of a Facebook friend. I asked my Facebook friends for poets to read, and my friend Suzanne suggested W.S. Merwin, and I found a poem that jumped out at me today. So thank you, Suzanne. This is called Before the Flood by W.S. Merwin, William Stanley Merwin. Why did he promise me that we would build ourselves an ark all by ourselves out in back of the house on New York Avenue in Union City, New Jersey, to the singing of the streetcars, after the story of Noah, whom nobody believed about the waters that would rise over everything? When I told my father I wanted us to build an ark of our own there in the backyard under the kitchen, could we do that? He told me that we could. I want to, I said, and will we? He promised me that we would. Why did he promise me that? I wanted us to start then. Nobody will believe us. I said that we are building an ark because the rains are coming, and that was true. Nobody ever believed we would build an ark there. Nobody would believe that the waters were coming.
I like that.
The first Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Is the he at the beginning his father? Why did he promise me?
Yep, I believe so.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. I really love it because it puts me in the shoes of both characters so much. Like I can absolutely identify with the child hearing the story and saying, "Let's build an ark." And the father saying, "Oh, okay."
You said we were going to be doing this.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then that gives me a thought for one. Since I've got one from the 1800s, but so it kind of continues these themes, and the three of us are all parents, so it could be three fathers, three poems.
Right.
So I'll read. This is by Kahil Gibran, and it's on children. And the woman who held a babe against her bosom said, "Speak to us of children." And he said, "Your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you. And though they are with you, yet they belong not to you. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. You may house their bodies, but not their souls, for their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow, which you cannot visit, not even in your dreams. You may strive to be like them, but seek not to make them like you. For life goes not backward, nor tarries with yesterday. You are the bows from which your children as living arrows are sent forth. The archer sees the mark upon the path of the infinite, and he bends you with his might, that his arrows may go swift and far. Let your bending in the archer's hand be for gladness. For even as he loves the arrow that flies, so he loves also the bow that is stable.
Wow.
Mm.
I needed to hear that. Yeah, I needed to be reminded that my children do not belong to me.
I may like post this on my boys' doors and let them read it every morning when they walk out the door.
Awesome.
Because yeah, that's an important. I love that.
Yeah. Wow.
And I think that empowers them, right? I mean, there's power there in those words for a child, especially a middle schooler like I have right now. I mean, they don't know. They're living in, front brain chaos.
Mm.
Everything is, and they don't know where they fit in, or they don't know, or they don't want to belong, but they want to belong at the same time. So,
Oh my
yeah.
God.
Mhm.
You just put that on a t-shirt so I can wear it. I want to belong and I don't know where I belong. I'm going to read. So I'm going to read I'm going to do the audacious act of reading my poem now after reading these brilliant works of art. Tom wrote one too. All right. And this, yeah, I didn't choose this with anything in mind. So if there are links, let's find them. But this is called Jailbreak. I'm sorry I was taught to distrust you. They never even let us meet. They locked us away in lone separate worlds, disjointed, displaced, discrete. Destructive and evil were how they described your ultimate aims and desires. Bad apple, bad seed, sure ruin, they said, were we to combine our powers. But now, shh, listen. The power is out. The guards are distracted. Prisoners howl. Methods redacted. It's chaos out there, and now is our chance to let it all go and finally dance. A tango of wholeness and peace with no shame. A waltz that will dance in lieu of the game that everyone's playing. No visitors allowed. Move to the front of your cell now. This is going to be loud.
Yeah.